Hello everybody, this is the biology exam review for Grade 10, Semester 3 at the International School of Innovation. Let's start by our chapter. This chapter that's covered during Semester 3 is about the hormonal communication, about the endocrine system, about the hormonal message, about the target cells and the secreting cells. What's the difference between endocrine and exocrine? What's the definition of a gland? What is a hormone? What are the main glands in our body? What do they secrete? Where do they secrete their secretion? And what is the name of each hormone? We are going to know during this PowerPoint presentation. To start with, you have to know that we have two types of communications in the body. We have the first one is called the nervous communication, and the second one is called the hormonal communication. First one, nervous communication. It occurs through what's known by the nervous system. This communication is very fast, maybe in milliseconds, while the hormonal communication, it occurs through hormones. This communication is somehow slow, few seconds, minutes as compared to the nervous communication. Now we're gonna move to a table of difference between the nervous communication and the endocrine communication, which is called the hormonal communication. First, the nervous communication, it occurs through a nervous message, while the hormonal communication, it occurs through the hormonal message through hormone. The nervous communication is rapid response, while the endocrine communication is slow compared to the nervous communication. Nervous communication is an electrochemical message, while the endocrine communication is a chemical message through hormone, through chemical messengers. The nervous communication is transmitted from neuron to neuron or to an effector organ, while the hormones, they are transported by blood from glands to target organs. Effector organ in the nervous communication is connected to the nervous system by the means of nerves, while the target organs are not connected to the endocrine glands. The nervous communication is not controlled, pay attention to this, is not controlled by endocrine communication, while the endocrine communication may be controlled by nervous centers. To start by glands, what is a gland? A gland is an organ that synthesizes, that produces, that secretes certain chemical substances that have specific target organs to bind to. How many types of glands do we have? We have three main types of glands. Number one, the endocrine glands. What are the endocrine glands? They are glands that secrete their hormones directly to the blood. Example about this, thyroid gland secretes the hormone thyroxine into the blood, or the pancreas secretes insulin into blood. Second type is called the exocrine glands. They are glands that secrete substances through special ducts. Example about this, salivary gland, they secrete saliva into the mouth, and pancreas secretes pancreatic juice to the small intestine. If you see here, pancreas has both the endocrine and exocrine. So pancreas is an example about mixed gland that has both roles as exocrine and endocrine. What is the target organ? Target organ is specific organ on which a hormone can act. So the target organ has cells which possess receptors for certain hormones. The binding of the hormone to its receptor induces changes in the target organ. Here, I ask you to draw a functional diagram showing the communication between an endocrine and a target organ. Then you have to list the steps of this communication. Here, the endocrine gland, using this legend, secrete. This shape's called hormone. This arrow circulate. This is a receptor, and this one induces. So endocrine glands. This one makes secrete a hormone into the blood, which circulates into the blood and moves toward the secreted toward the target cells, where it binds to receptors on the target cells. This will induce a response. Steps of the hormonal communication includes number 1, secretion of a hormone by endocrine gland into the blood. The hormone circulates into the blood vessels. Then the hormone passes from the blood to the target organ. 4. The fixation of a hormone to a specific receptor on the surface of target cells, creating something known by hormone receptor complex. And step number 5, the formation of the hormone receptor complex induces response in the target cells. I'm going to repeat this, pay attention. Step number 1, secretion of a hormone by endocrine gland into the blood. Step number 2, the hormone circulates in the blood vessels. Then the hormone passes from blood toward the target organ. Fixation of the hormone to a specific receptor is present on the surface of the target cell form a hormone receptor complex. The formation of the hormone receptor complex induces a specific response in the target cell. Moving to the types of the endocrine glands. How many glands do we have? We have the name of the endocrine gland, its location, the hormones secreted and functions, and finally the target organs. Let's start with pituitary gland. What is the location of the pituitary gland? It's located at the base of the brain, below the hypothalamus. Secreted hormones, TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, HGH, human growth hormone. What's the function of TSH? Stimulate the thyroid gland to secrete the hormone thyroxine and acts at the level of the thyroid gland, while human growth hormone stimulate growth and development, and it acts to the whole body. Thyroid gland is located at the level of the neck. It secretes the hormone thyroxine T3 and T4. Functions, they influence metabolic reactions and the target organs throughout the whole body. Moving to the pancreas. Pancreas is located in the abdomen under the stomach. Secreted hormones, insulin and glucagon. What's the function of insulin? Decreases the level of glucose in blood. Target organs, liver cells, muscles, adipocytes, which are the lipid cells. While glucagon, this hormone, increases the level of glucose in blood, and it works on many body organs. Moving to the adrenal gland, it's present on the top of the kidneys, secrete hormone adrenaline. Adrenaline regulate iron concentration and regulate stress. Target organ, it works throughout the body. Moving to the testicles, they are present only in males. They are located in the pelvic region outside. Secreted hormones is the testosterone, the male sex hormone. Functions, control secondary sexual characteristics, and it acts throughout the body. We have the ovaries. They are present only in females. They are present in the pelvic region. They are located in the pelvic region. They secrete the hormone estrogen. This hormone controls the secondary sexual characteristics and also acts throughout the body. So, what is metamorphosis? Metamorphosis is the set of transformation through which the larva, like a tadpole, change to become an adult, like the case of frog. So, on your book, document 1 on page 104, while we ablate the thyroid gland of a young tadpole, this will prevent the metamorphosis but doesn't affect the growth where a giant tadpole is obtained. What does this indicate? This indicates that the thyroid gland is indispensable. It means that the thyroid gland is very important for metamorphosis and not for the growth. So according to documents 1, 2, and 3, that the thyroid gland have the same effect on the body of the tadpoles and rats justify, according to these documents, you have to say no. In tadpoles, it's responsible for the metamorphosis, but in the rats, it's responsible for the growth, the ossification, the muscular strength, and maintain a normal body temperature. So guys, let's start with the first question. Indicate the true statement or statements and correct the false one or ones. The hormones are chemical messages secreted by endocrine and exocrine. This is false. They are secreted by endocrine, not exocrine, endocrine. So the organ that produce hormone, they are called secretory cells. This is true. And we can say the target cell is the cell. This is a cell the functioning of which is affected by a hormone. This is true. And salivary gland is an exocrine gland. This is also true. Moving to question number 2, thyroid gland. Thyroid gland is an endocrine gland situated at the base of the neck. It plays an essential role in the organism. A minimum perturbation and dysfunction may lead to repercussions in the organism, intensive fatigue, changes of mood, gain or weight loss, also muscular or cardiac troubles. The thyroid gland produces the hormone T3 and T4. These thyroid hormones cannot be produced without the action of the pituitary gland, situated at the base of the encephalon, and without the action of the hypothalamus, which corresponds to a small region of the cerebrum. So the thyroid gland needs both pituitary gland and hypothalamus. The thyroid gland needs also primary materials, for example iodine, which is a natural element present in certain food, particularly in fish, crustaceans, and algae. A balanced diet provides approximately 100 microgram of iodine per day, which is the quantity necessary for the sufficient production of the thyroid hormones. An excess of these hormones, thyroid hormones, is called hyperthyroidism, provokes increase in body temperature, cardiac rhythm acceleration, the heart beats faster, diarrhea, weight loss, excitement, and aggressiveness. On the other hand, lack in hormones or hypothyroidism leads to drop in body temperature, slowing down of cardiac rhythm, weight gain, constipation, weak memory, and signs of depression. Pick out from the text the structure which stimulates the production of the thyroid hormone. Which are these structures? They are the pituitary gland, and what's known by the hypothalamus. The natural element necessary for the production of T3 and T4 and its recommended quantity. What is this element? It is iodine. Recommended quantity is about 100 microgram per day. What are the signs of the dysfunction of the thyroid hormone? They are repercussion in the organism, intensive fatigue, changes of mood, gain or weight loss, and also muscular or cardiac troubles. By referring to the text, draw up a comparative table between the difference between hyperthyroidism and the hypothyroidism. So as we said, structure, they are the pituitary gland and hypothalamus. Natural elements, iodine 100 microgram per day. Signs of dysfunctioning, we said they are repercussion in the organism, intensive fatigue, changes in the mood, weight or gain loss, and also we have cardiac and muscular troubles. Draw a comparative table between hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism. You can draw a table using a pencil for sure, using a ruler at your exam. This is hyperthyroidism. hypothyroidism, and this is hypo. Here we have increase in body temperature. Here we have decrease in body temperature. Here we have cardiac rhythm, acceleration. This is deceleration, or you can say decrease. You can have here weight loss, and in the case of hyperthyroidism we have weight gain. We have here diarrhea, while the opposite here is constipation. Here we have excitement. Here we have weak memory, and we have here aggressiveness. Here we have signs of depression. So these questions, they are very easy. You have to take care that they are picked out from the text. All of them, they are picked out from the text, so you have to be careful for this. Question number 3, glycemia. What is glycemia, and what is the aim of this question? Glycemia is the normal concentration of glucose in blood, which is about 1 gram per liter. In order to understand the endocrine function of the pancreas, the following experiments were performed on rats. In experiment 1, the ablation of the pancreas provokes hyperglycemia, which means that increase in blood sugar. Hyperglycemia meaning that we have high level of sugar in blood. Ablation of the pancreas, this is the removal of the pancreas. Experiment 2, the ablation of the pancreas followed by grafting it in the neck. The graft is rapidly vascularized and the rat's glycemia goes normal. Experiment 3, ablation of the pancreas followed by regular injection of the hormones of the pancreas. This provokes normal glycemia. So, represented in the table the above experiment. Interpret experiment 2 reveals an important property of the mode of action of endocrine. What is this property? So, number 1, experiment, conditions and results. Experiment 1, we have ablation of the pancreas, results hyperglycemia. Experiment 2, ablation of the pancreas followed by grafting it in the neck, so the graft is rapidly vascularized and the rat's glycemia become normal. Experiment 3, ablation of the pancreas followed by regular injection of the hormones of the pancreas. This goes to normal glycemia. You have to be careful here that table should have a title, table showing the different conditions and results of the experiments. Question number 2, interpret. So after the ablation of the pancreas in experiment 1, hyperglycemia is observed. What does this indicate? This indicates that the pancreas inhibits the rise in the level of the blood glucose. So after ablation of the pancreas followed by grafting it in the neck of the rat in experiment 2, the graft is highly vascularized and the rat's glycemia becomes normal again. What does this indicate? This indicates that pancreas performs its function regardless of its position in the body, but depends on blood communication. So 3, after the ablation of the pancreas followed by regular injection of the hormones of the pancreas, normal glycemia occurs. What does this indicate? This indicates that pancreas secretes chemicals in the blood to maintain normal sugar level. Part C. How can you explain this property in experiment 2, where we graft the neck, we ablate the pancreas and we graft it in the neck? It functions normally. We can explain this that endocrine glands, they can function through specific hormones through the bloodstream. Okay, this question is an important question, so be careful to this. Maybe you're gonna have a similar question about the glycemia in your exam, so study well. Good luck.